1, 2, da di da da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello. 1, 2. Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5 Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. Good afternoon, people. Welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination, and exposing plutocracy. Oh yeah. And if you're an American, happy Independence Day. We concur. Oh dear, fine-tuning this intro business. Yeah, okay, this is one I put together earlier. Yeah, I'm Olly Connolly. Welcome to the show. And today, a Rochdale update. We've got Leckie Howarth here from Parents Against Grooming here on the show. And yeah, you must excuse me. I'm just working out a few production bits behind the scenes. Just, yeah, just getting things, making sure that we're going out, basically. Yeah, hey folks. Okay, apparently we've got no sound. Is that correct? Do we have sound? Can you hear me? If anybody could let me know, I'd very much appreciate that, because yeah, had all sorts of new stuff going on with the post-production and the studio production side of this show, and I have absolutely no idea if anybody can hear me. In testing, everything seemed to work, but now I don't know. Billy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Billy, God bless you. That's our guest, Leckie Howarth from Parents Against Grooming, here today. Billy, I will pull you back in just a sec. I'm going to go through the news today just very briefly, but before I do, I'd really like to know if anybody can hear this. So, because this is hold on. Let's have a look. Let's have a look briefly. Maybe. But before I do, I'd really like to know. You know what? I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Yes, I think so. Okay. All right. Fine. We seem to be all right. Okay. Let's have a look at the papers. Yeah, we've got most of them are leading on the public sector pay cap business and what have you, which is, you know, is obviously a big story and all that. But the story that really struck me, and bearing in mind our theme, which is an update on the terrible things that have been going on around the country, this kind of endemic child abuse that's going on. In view of that, Outgarin in Jersey is back in the news. Metro's calling to pull the place down. I don't know how much you guys know about this. There was an amazing documentary that Bill Maloney put together some time ago about this place in Jersey. I'm sure my guests will have something to say, but this place, they dug up kids' bones and stuff there years and years ago, and the place is still around. It's just really appalling. But apparently they've only just completed an inquiry into the kind of the level of child abuse on Jersey in the last, just now. And yet this story as to what happened at this care home, one of so many around the UK, is an old story. It's at least, 10 years old, this story. And it's, we're only just closing inquiries into what sort of happened in places like this. If indeed we're even underway with the inquiry, as with the CSA, we're not even getting into the guts of that, are we? Barely. And it's just incredible. Okay, we're going to be talking more about that, of course, with our guest. Otherwise, this is Drudge leading on North Korea, another missile test. Breitbart, Downing Street accused of burying terror report to protect Saudi Arabia. RT, Russia, China, North Korea must freeze nuclear activities. Missile launched by North Korea was intermediate range, not ICBM, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Italy angry at Austria's decision to deploy troops and armored vehicles to protect the border. The Telegraph looking at North Korea. The Independent looking at an effort to break Northern Ireland. Basically, they're just trying to say there's all sorts of problems going on in Northern Ireland off the back of the DUP deal. Brexit may be a mistake, says Vote Leave boss behind the £350 million NHS lie. Grenfell still in the news in The Guardian. They're still talking about the difference between an inquest and an inquiry, and I imagine that'll come up today as well in our conversation with Billy. Express, Britain's economy to outperform France, Germany and Eurozone, says bombshell report. Yeah, okay. BBC News, more on the North Korea. I guess that is really the biggest story of the day. Oh, and Juncker is calling the EU Parliament ridiculous. Well, hey, yeah, I mean, yeah, get over it. Right, okay, so fine. That's a bit of what's going on. We've got Leckie Howarth with us from Parents Against Grooming to talk about what I think is the top story, really, that Outgaren Jersey inquiry that's round up. Billy, was that an inquiry or was it an inquest? It was kind of a local inquiry as opposed to a public-led inquest, no?
Yeah, it was a commission report, really, by another MP.
And his jurisdiction is the Channel Islands, or... There are so many characters involved. There are so many abuse cases. There are so many inquiries into different care homes. Most of them have just been wrapped up. And then it's a question of, should they be opened up again? 20 years after, I don't know, someone like William Hague closed them up. This particular one in Jersey, I mean, didn't we know about this 10 years ago? Have they learned anything new? Billy? Oh no. Okay, all right. Let's see if I've got Billy here. Let's see if I can find him. Okay, please rate the quality of this call. In other words, yeah, he's gone. Right. Okay, we're going to have problems like this, teething problems, a little bit with Daily Brexit. I'm going to call him back. I'm calling him back. Yeah. But once we get the tech right, it's going to be all groovy. This is where he doesn't pick up his phone. Billy. Oh, dear. This is odd, eh? This is odd. Okay, I'm getting some messages. I've got a message from my old mate Piers here that I can hear you loud and clear. You know what? I'm just going to call Piers to see if he's about see if he can pick this up, just out of interest. Seeing as I can't get my main guest, I'll see if I can pull up old Piers Garnham, who knows a lot about this topic as well. Just out of interest.
Hi.
Piers, you're live on the air, mate, on Daily Brexit. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, you seem to be. Yeah, it's odd that your guest Billy should be cut off just as you're about to ask him a nice, challenging question.
Piers is quite a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, he likes the odd conspiracy. But you know what? Most of them have been proven true, so I can't entirely blame him. Yes. So, Piers, just tell me. I'm going to try and get a hold of Billy again. But in the meantime, I just wonder if you could bring us up to speed on what's going on with this cardinal in Australia, because, I mean, endemic is the word, isn't it?
He's not based in Australia. He's based in the Vatican. And by all accounts, I forget his name now. You'll have to look it up.
I don't know. Isn't he the head of the Catholic Church for Australia, though?
Vatican and is the sort of Vatican treasurer, as far as I can make out.
He's third in line to the papacy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's sort of, up there at the top-ranking sort of, member of the Catholic Church. And yeah, he's basically being accused by, multiple victims of all kinds of hideousness, and when people of this caliber are being found, doing these kinds of things, it does make you wonder. You think, it's how many pervert priests and pedo politicians have to be exposed, not necessarily indicted, because half of them are dead before anything actually gets around to happening. Deliberately, I might add. I think. How many more high-ranking officials do we have to be exposed before we finally realise that there's something fundamentally wrong with the establishment as a whole? I mean, and the fact that that this sort of employing people who can be easily compromised, or blackmailed. And giving them authority means that you have, you can control them from behind the curtain, and that seems to be what's been going on across.
You're absolutely right. A bit of an update on Billy, Piers, is that his computer froze. So okay. maybe your theory that the NSA, keeps tabs on us on Facebook and messes around. Maybe there is some veracity in that. I've no idea. I'll tell you what, though, Piers, let me just play something that basically backs up what you say. This is Tim Fortescue talking, nearly 30 years ago, 82 or so, on the BBC.
96 or 97, this interview.
Oh, was it as recently as that? Okay, fine. Basically...
It was about in 1997 on the BBC. So, about 20 years ago he was interviewed. He was Ted Heath's chief whip.
That's 30 years ago now, mate. 87. I hate to put it to tell you.
It's 97 is 20 odd years ago, isn't it?
Oh, was it 97? Okay, all right. Yeah, well, anyway, Tim Fortescue, Ted Heath's chief whip.
Anyone with any sense who was in trouble would come to the whips and tell them the truth and say, "No, I'm in a jam. Can you help?" It might be debt. It might be scandal involving small boys, or any kind of scandal which a member seemed likely to be mixed up in. They'd come and ask if we could help, and if we could, we did, and we would do everything we can, because we would store up brownie points. That sounds a pretty nasty reason, but it's one of the reasons. Is if we can get a chap out of trouble, then he'll do as we ask forevermore.
Well,
pretty damning.
It's pretty damning. I mean, people say that that's just from 20, talking about the time in the 70s, and it's not like that anymore. Well, I don't see any proof.
According to him, he was talking in the 80s, and he was saying this is what we do. He wasn't talking about
97.
He wasn't talking about the past. He's talking about maybe one political generation ago. So whether or not things have cleared up in that time, but we can only assume not, because Lord Janner copped it only about, what, 2 or 3 years ago, and it turns out that he was fiddling all the way up, straight through. And we know that Leon Britton, another bloke who's just copped it, he did cover up the Dickens dossier, or at least he chose that it wasn't worth pursuing. That is within a generation, and so whether or not it's still there, we cannot be sure, but we do know that it's well within living memory, and that it's a scandal that absolutely needs rooting out. I mean, quite aside from the child abuse that we're looking at, and any isolated cases and the terrible pain for those involved, it's also, this is what we've just heard from Tim Fortescue, a whip for a PM, the guy that tells the troops how to vote. We're saying that this is how they oil the rails of democracy. In other words, that could be the reason that we went into the EU in the first place. If it's true, the allegations that Ted Heath, for example, is a paedophile, and we don't know. We don't know exactly,
well,
but we do.
The police went on the record, the one investigating the Heath inquiry. He said he was 120% sure that the allegations, multiple allegations against Ted Heath, were true. It's a case of all these people. They don't know each other. They haven't met each other. They've never communicated. They all give the same detail in their testimonies. What he liked to be called. How he addressed them, the things that he did to them, and there was such an enormous overlap of corroborative testimony, and a huge number of victims coming forward. That the chief of police was absolutely convinced that what they were saying about Ted Heath was true. Yes, he was the one that took us into the European Economic Community, which was the first stage of the EU. So if we did have a blackmailed paedophile prime minister at the time, then obviously that would have helped, because the globalists, the likes of Kissinger and his clan, the ones that turn up at the Bilderberg meetings, which have been going on since the 50s.
Piers, bear with me one sec. Billy, Can you hear me?
I can, but I'm on my mobile phone, pal.
Okay, that's all right. Don't worry. You sound really good anyway. Piers, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
But I guess you can't hear Billy, and he can't hear you.
I can't hear Billy.
No, all right. Look, we're just going to have to muddle through this. But guys, okay, we got Billy back. Look, Billy, I was asking you about Jersey. Why are they still conducting inquiries about things that most of us were pretty sure was going on at least, 10 years ago? Why does it take them so long? How many of these kids that were how many kids have been abused as a result of the kind of procrastination that we're seeing?
Well, we've witnessed it here in Rochdale, the same type of thing. They dragged the feet in inquiry because they're looking at ways to cover up without accountability. They don't want accountability. I believe.
Can you just give us a bit of Billy, give us a bit of a background, your introduction, your involvement, why you put together Parents Against Grooming, please.
Me and a couple of others who was experiencing the problems with grooming with our own children drove us all together, really, and that's where the group started from. We're experienced because we were speaking to people with the same problems we was having ourselves.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, so how long ago was that you got involved?
It was August, 4 years this August.
4 years ago, and this had been going on. We know that. Did you watch? Did you watch last night the Betrayed Girls, the documentary on the BBC?
Yes, but I watched it. Yeah.
Because that shows. Sorry, carry on.
It said, that never showed us something we've been telling people about this for the last 4 years.
What did that documentary fail to address?
Sorry?
What did that documentary last night fail to address?
Accountability.
What do you mean? They left out your side of the story?
They left out who was to blame, I thought. Who should be the ones in in the court, in the dock, it made out that, and it also forgot to tell you that there's plenty of them groomers still walking about on the streets today.
Yes. I actually thought it was quite a surprisingly rubbish documentary, having the BBC having produced such a brilliant drama documentary. I don't know what you thought, but Three Girls, I thought it smashed it out of the park.
Award winning for me.
Yeah, me too. Incredible. And that really does tell an amazing story of what happened in Rochdale. I mean, can you just give us a very brief recap of the problem that we've seen in Rochdale and now, for all we know, endemically throughout the country? We can't see that it's been cleared up, can we? Can you just give us a bit of a recap, please, just for anybody that isn't entirely sure what we're talking about, Billy, before we get into the guts?
It's systematic failure of protecting and safeguarding children. A lot of victim blaming. It's getting better now. It's not better, it's getting better. The new team that's involved in Sunrise look like a team that can take it forward. But still, until accountability here in Rochdale, especially, I can't speak for the other places because we've only been dealing with cases in Rochdale so far.
Okay.
There's that many of them, you know. We've not had a chance to address many other cases from around the country.
So specifically, this is about child grooming, kids as young as 10, young teenage girls. They tend to be...
Younger.
Pardon?
We've heard younger.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
And they are being groomed, in this case, by Pakistani grooming gangs, or predominantly Pakistani. They're being labelled as Asian in the news a lot, but, I mean, it's truth. That's what, a third of or half the global population. You can be more specific. They tend to be Pakistani. That's not to say that there are not enormous problems with child grooming by other ethnic groups throughout the country. And indeed, your call was cut off, Billy, but I was talking to Piers and we played a clip. Tim Fortescue, I don't know if you remember him, but he was Ted Heath's, one of his whips. And he actually admitted on the BBC how even politicians would come along and say, look, I've been caught, I'm a paedophile, can you get me out of a scrape? And they would, in exchange for that politician voting with the government from then on. And so basically, democracy is being sold down the river in exchange for depravity and cold, hard politics. So this is going on across society. It's not obviously not just the Pakistani grooming gangs, but this does seem to be a particularly targeted and callous and well orchestrated crime. The police have just turned a blind eye to, in this case, through political correctness. Is that a fair assessment, Billy?
No, I don't believe that is. I believe there's no child abuse doesn't have any race. What I believe is, and you're speaking to someone from Rochdale here who witnessed, not witnessed firsthand, but have grown up with the likes of Cyril Smith. Yes. He was white. Yeah, he had a predominantly white team around him, grooming and abusing children. So no, it's not just this case we're on about. What we watched last night, maybe it is predominantly Pakistani men. But I don't believe that for a minute, no, sorry.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, so how wide, because Rochdale, we had heard, was about this, it was partly almost an ethnic issue, but the wider child abuse, for example, the IICSA going on, looks at the whole thing. And this is, as you say, it's a drop in the ocean as to the bigger picture. Is it something that we are in danger, or we have been in danger of, well, not so much politicizing, but somehow socially compartmentalizing? Do we need to extract any ethnic association from this? Is that what you're saying? And that has happened with this Rochdale story, has it not? And the documentary last night seemed to politicize it a lot. There kept being references, for example, to the BNP and stuff like that. Is all of that a distraction? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, of course it is. There's a great divide caused by this in Rochdale. That cannot be denied. There is two communities now in Rochdale, and it's divided. The people in, the people in positions to get integration. Must point out that Rochdale has had more immigrants into Rochdale than all south east of England. Yeah,
right.
So the numbers are very high here, and there's been nothing by the council, total failure for integration and non-integration. It's been absolutely ridiculous, and it has been for the last 15 to 20 years.
What do you mean? What do you mean? The integration is not working? What do you mean?
There's been zero effort by Rochdale Council on integration. Growing up as a young white English lad, I've never been in anything that's made me want to integrate with the other communities.
Right.
There's been nothing put to us at school or at college or anything like that.
But you went to school together?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You didn't play football together?
In integration has been done by the people of Rochdale themselves. The authorities have done nothing to help it. And if you ask me, if I want to be honest, they've done nothing but divide it more. Child abuse.
Right. Okay. Okay. So the first thing okay, that's obviously one important point to you. Last night's documentary, then, as opposed to the drama. I mean, the drama, you could argue, from what you've just said, the drama also, it showed too much of a cultural affinity to this, what's been dubbed, child street grooming. Would you say that was the case with the drama as well? Or was it?
I think there needs to be focus on which community is doing it, because we need to work with them communities to be able to stop it. We can't do it without them. But yeah, I agree. There is a problem at the moment with that community, but it's not in the big, like you say, in the bigger picture. There's hundreds of white paedophiles, so we can't start by putting the focus on one community. Other communities are getting away with what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
So paedophiles are paedophiles. It doesn't matter what colour his skin is.
Good. Yeah. And if there is a problem with integration, that doesn't help for us rooting out problems with any individual sector.
Of course, that's my point, that they'd keep themselves to themselves because, and we the police and even ourselves to go in that community and investigate what's going on, to open up. I think there needs to be a lot of work done between both communities together, instead of one being over there and one being over here, and us not working together to eradicate this.
So what do you where is the inquiry now in Rochdale? Because I was under the impression that rather than there just be a limited number of girl victims, that actually that has clocked up to something in the region now of about 1,400 in one little area, quite a populated area in the UK. Is that correct? And what's going on to help these victims from the UK services?
Right. Well, last week we had two meetings, myself and my partner, not my partner in the group, which is Liz Thirsk. The first meeting was with several officers from Rochdale, from Greater Manchester Police. We sat there and we had a meeting, we discussed, when they tried to refer to the accountability and inquiry, we didn't want to talk about that, we wanted to talk about safeguarding the children on the way forward. They themselves have told us we are severely underfunded. The Sunrise team in Rochdale are severely underfunded. The day after, we had a meeting with Tony Lloyd, and I sat with Tony Lloyd along with Liz Thirsk and Lindsay Millington.
Tony Lloyd, he was the head of the investigation, wasn't he? And now I think isn't he running as? Did he not run as a councillor?
He was a police and crime commissioner for Greater Manchester. He is now been elected as Rochdale's MP, Member of Parliament.
Right. Okay. And so he's been elected as the MP. Wasn't he one of the guys most responsible for covering up the police basically for a sloppy investigation.
Yeah, but come on, it's Rochdale. You stick a red rosette on a donkey and everyone will vote for it.
Okay, right, fine. Why did Labour even select this guy who is allegedly involved in a cover-up?
And not only that, they overlooked Sarah Rowbottom as the who wanted to stand as Rochdale's MP for Labour.
Did they?
Yeah,
What does that tell you about the Labour Party? I'm not saying that the Tories are any better, but...
We weren't happy with it. We tried to stop Lloyd from being elected, but of course, we didn't do well.
That's incredible. Sarah Rowbottom, by contrast, folks, in case you don't know, she was the child sexual health worker, or the sexual health worker for the area that first uncovered the level of abuse that was going on, and sent God knows how many hundreds of requests to the police to try and follow up on her allegations, and they didn't. Time and time and time again, they didn't. She said in an inquiry to Keith Vaz in the Commons. I mean, Keith Vaz. I'll tell you, I mean, the kind of names that crop up that are involved, whether it's these dodgy police or in the Commons, it's kind of folks. I mean, Keith Vaz, he's hardly got the highest moral character to be in charge of this kind of a committee. I'm not saying that he's necessarily, put it this way, he had some pretty dodgy associations, close associations with the council that was under the jurisdiction, covering the jurisdiction where Elm Grove went on in the 80s, Barnes, where allegedly politicians got together in a boy brothel with, for example, senior members of the IRA, whilst the mainland bombing campaign was going on, and so on and so forth. You mentioned, Billy, that Sarah Rowbottom was passed over in favour of this character who, for all we know, was trying to cover up this investigation. This Tony Lloyd.
Tony Lloyd commissioned the initial report.
He did what?
When he was police and crime commissioner, he initially asked for the report. He asked Ann Coffey to do the report, so he commissioned the report himself. But when obviously it came back as damning, didn't want to act on it.
Okay, so now where are we, Billy? Now with Rochdale, because I heard something last week that the inquiry was being brought to a close.
When we spoke with Tony Lloyd and we asked him for a new independent inquiry free from any political input, he told us what's in the past is in the past, and he also told us that Rochdale, he believes, is leading the way in safeguarding for children.
It doesn't sound like it, does it? Pardon?
No, we know. But the thing was, he turns up to the meeting. We asked before the meeting in the emails confidentiality and impartiality from the council, because it was some of the council was asking for accountability against. Of course, he turns up to the meeting with Councillor Richard Farnell's PA to take minutes in the meeting for him.
Right.
So we knew from that moment onwards there was going to be no impartiality, no accountability, and no new inquiry from Tony Lloyd. We're not going to stop. We're going to go for an accountability, and we're going to go for another inquiry. We're just obviously not going to get it from Tony Lloyd.
Right. Okay. But if he's been elected as the MP, you must be disgusted with Labour for selecting him.
Well, he's got 29,000 votes with it, so I'm...
Yeah, but they, as you say, you stick a red rosette on a donkey in that area, and it's going to get elected Labour. But...
I actually emailed Jeremy Corbyn when we discussed, but I doubt he haven't got it.
Okay, we got a few
Also,
comments. Sorry, go on, go on.
Was housing minister as well, so he's on the front bench.
Billy, I'm sorry. Who's on the front bench?
Tony Lloyd.
What? He's only just been made an MP, and he's already on the front bench, shadow front bench.
Yeah.
Corbyn's a bit desperate, isn't he? He's unbelievable. I'll tell you what. Hold on a sec. Hold on. Let's just have a bit. There you go. Where is he? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's enough. Right. We've got a couple of comments come in on under. Yeah. We got Chris Baxter. He says 1 in 14 children have been physically abused. I assume that he's talking about. I don't know whether he's talking about in Rochdale or throughout the UK. Whether or not the statistics should be so much different. I suppose, Billy, this kind of epidemic that we're seeing in the UK, is it worse in the cities? It would presumably be worse in the cities.
It's not taking the most immigration, because here in Rochdale we've just lost. There's not much of a police force left. It's been depleted severely. We've lost our hospital. The town's lawless, if you ask me, at the moment. They're doing the best with what we've moved us here, but they're losing a fight. They're losing a battle. They're trying to fight it, but they're losing. I think there's about 5 police officers, if you ask me, at the moment. They're doing the best with what.
Billy?
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Sorry. Okay, I'm with you. So, now, as far as you're aware, what is the state of affairs with the police inquiry in Rochdale? If there were 1,400 victims...
Well, there's no inquiry.
Nothing?
Into the Rochdale grooming scandal. No, we've been trying to fight for this for the last 4 years. There's no inquiry. They've just shut up shop and called it a day.
So, all the justice that British children have had here is for a handful of blokes to go to prison, some of them for 19 years, 3 of them or something, and all the rest, and hundreds of children, their concerns are just being completely ignored. Is that what you're saying?
They have been completely ignored for the last so many years. They've been completely ignored. The safeguarding of children has been completely ignored. And it all boils down to the same thing. It's accountability. Until someone's held accountable for allowing this to happen within the councils, within the police, it'll carry on because no one's accountable. They can get away with what they want. So, there needs to be accountability, especially for what's gone on here in Rochdale. And I'm on about Cyril Smith. That there's no one ever been sent to prison over that.
That's right.
There was Cyril Smith involved. There was plenty, and they had the evidence, and they chose not to act. Why? Because a lot of them was high up on the food chain. And when I say that, I mean heads of councils, heads of this, heads of that. So
are you talking about essentially a paedophile-run establishment, at least in that area?
I have no evidence to back that up, but that is a suspicion we've got.
That's the suspicion you have?
Yeah.
That basically...
Well, done it because of the days of Cyril Smith. He was our MP.
Yes.
So, people in the council knew what he was doing and did nothing about it.
Right. He was... when he died... He received tributes from the likes of Nick Clegg and David, what's his name, the Liberal leader, David Steele, and he received all these tributes, and yet he had basically gone around raping little boys whilst he was an MP. David Steele, I remember, just made a joke about, he only smacks him on the bum or something like that. He said something like that. I mean, it just makes you wonder if we can't address this openly. There has to be a reason. What is that reason? Are we seeing? I mean, some people Some people. Piers, are you still there? No, we've lost Piers now, Billy. Not to worry. Some people, including Piers, which is why I was referencing then, would say that we live in an establishment which is actually has a lot of satanic worshipping going on, quite aside from anything else, and that these people really, really are, a lot of them, very, very sick. Has your research led you to believe that the problem is as well as peculiar as that, Billy?
Well, it goes to show. Maggie Oliver said it went last night in the programme. She said it goes much higher than the boots on the street. It goes much higher. That's exactly what we believe. It goes higher, and it goes to a level which is untouchable. And this is one of the things we're going to try and change, because we don't believe everybody who lives in this country should be held accountable for the laws they break.
That's right. And also, if it's a cop, you would kind of expect them to uphold the law and not just to ignore hundreds, if not thousands, of allegations of this nature. I don't know what could be more serious than looking after the kids, looking after the future of our nation. I really don't know what could be more. I try to think of something that could be a worse crime than this, and the only thing I can come up with is war profiteering, which amounts to killing kids, bombing them, their families, whatever. So that is probably about as bad as you can get. After that, it's this. No, I can't think of anything worse. And the idea that it's happening on an industrial scale across the country, and that it is being allowed to happen because of an establishment that is, well, according to Tim Fortescue, I'm going to play that quote again. Billy, I want you to hear this as well. Listen to this. This is one of the whips, one of the guys that tells MPs how to vote. This is him giving us a big hint about how the UK is run.
Anyone with any sense who was in trouble would come to the whips and tell them the truth and say, no, I'm in a jam, can you help? It might be debt, it might be scandal involving small boys, or any kind of scandal which a member seemed likely to be mixed up in. They'd come and ask if we could help, and if we could, we did. And we would do everything we can, because we would store up brownie points. That sounds a pretty nasty reason, but it's one of the reasons. Is if we can get a chap out of trouble, then he'll do as we ask forevermore.
Okay.
Wow.
Have you not heard that before, Billy?
No, that's new to me.
That guy there, Tim Fortescue, was one of Ted Heath's whips when he was Prime Minister. So that's the kind of character that was telling the MPs to vote with the government on issues appertaining, for example, to joining the EEC, the precursor to the EU. The direct implication being that is actually the reason, or one of the reasons, that we may have an EU, that we may have this anti-democratic vehicle telling us how to live our lives across Europe.
Yeah.
I don't know the truth of that, but I do know that guy went on record saying that, yeah, you know what, and there are a lot of off-the-record accounts of MI5 going to Oxbridge and, setting up promising students, political students, people in debating societies, stuff like that, folks called things like Miranda, if that means anything to anybody. And saying, you know what, we've got XYZ on you. We know that about you. We can besmirch your character at the drop of a hat. What we want you to do is, you know what, we're going to give you a wonderful life. You know, we'll send you all over the world. You can do all sorts of stuff. But you'll be in our pocket. You'll do as we say. I have no idea how many of those that are, for example, in Her Majesty's cabinet, government, whatever, that are involved that way. And I imagine less and less as the years go on and our voting becomes a little bit more, hopefully a little bit more open and, you know, the kind of folks that we introduce into the Commons. But nonetheless, perhaps just enough. And as it would appear from some of the evidence, way too much. And yeah, no, I don't know about you, Billy, but that thing that Tim Fortescue says there, unbelievable.
It's alarming. It's alarming. And if that's still going on today, which I very suspect it is doing, then they're untouchable. They're allowed to do what they want. Whoever's children it is, or, you know, they can do whatever they want. There's no law for them. That's what we're going to fight. Parents Against Grooming UK are not going to sit by anymore while these people do these to these children and not be held accountable. We'll fight to the end and to make sure that they're held accountable. It has to happen. It has to happen.
I want to play something that Maggie Oliver said in that documentary last night. So she was the lady PC who
wonderful
did try to help these kids, yeah, but she doesn't sound too optimistic. Let me play this. This is basically her take on where we are now with this whole UK saga.
As a country, we're trying to play catch up with a crime that has become frighteningly, it's epidemic proportions. I hope that now we realise we can't turn a blind eye. I just think it's too little, too late.
Is it too little, too late?
As long as I've got breath in my body, it's not too late. Because we'll keep going. We'll keep going. There's a group. I've got my group. The members in my group. They're very passionate. Mums, nans, aunties, dads, and they're not willing to accept it. We're not willing to accept it. We know it's wrong. You all know it's wrong. The country knows it's wrong. Everybody in the world knows this is wrong. It's not okay. It really isn't. And that's a Sunrise motto. It's not okay. It's not okay. And no longer will we accept it as okay or as part of society because it's not on. We might not be able to lock them up ourselves, but I tell you what we'll do, we'll expose every single one of them and let everybody know who they are.
What other groups are you involved with? For example, have you tried to gain some sort of cooperative relationship with the NSPCC? And what is their reaction to you, for example?
I haven't spoken to anyone from NSPCC, but I'm willing to have a discussion with them. I have been seeing other paedophilia groups on Facebook that go catching paedophiles and exposing paedophiles.
Yeah.
I'm also Justice for Chelsea, the Sunderland. We've also had chats with them. With Breaking Chains, we have NACCA. These are groups that are supporter groups for people and victims and survivors. We try and do a lot of, we try and advertise for them also.
Okay. And what is the next stage for you guys? I mean, I'm just trying to think. If I were in your shoes, I suppose I would be going after Tony Lloyd at every opportunity. But what are you doing?
We're going after them all, not just Lloyd. We're going after every one of them.
But if you expose the MP, if you could somehow expose the story that the Labour Party is willingly recruiting a guy that's trying to cover this up, as opposed to selecting a lady who trying to expose it, is that not a good political story? I don't know. What is the best way to approach this? Or are you more on the ground trying to help the actual victims at the time, or?
Sarah Rowbottom politically and publicly endorsed Tony Floyd. I'd like to know why. I've never spoken to Sarah, but I don't understand.
I'm surprised to hear that. I'm very surprised to hear that. Is it possible?
Quote,
Pardon?
But we were shocked at that also.
I'm sorry, Billy?
I said we was also shocked to hear that also. But it may have been a misquote. I'm hoping it is. I've never spoken to Sarah. I'd love to speak to her. But yeah, she did publicly endorse Tony Floyd for Rochdale.
What do you guys...
We wanted Sarah as a group. We was gutted.
Parents Against Grooming, what are you doing on a daily basis to try and tackle this problem and to try and expose the problem more and more to the British public?
We've been done a couple of peaceful marches through to the town hall and roundabout. We've been speaking to people on the high street. We're out there most weeks, handing out leaflets and maybe, we've got a sponsored walk on the 22nd of July. There's two teams. One's going from Rotherham to Rochdale, and one from Halifax to Rochdale, and that's symbolic because we want to show solidarity with the other towns that are also having this problem with the same type of councils that are letting things happen there also. So we want to raise awareness more than anything, and also have something in place to safeguard children for the future. We've had a lot of people come to us, and we've assured them that they'll get looked after when they go to the Sunrise team. So we're doing good.
How big? How much of a problem is this across the country? I can't remember the name of the lady, but the lady that put together the report about Rochdale, I think about 3 years ago now. She said, but I'm sorry?
Is it Anne Coffey?
Anne Coffey, yes. It's Anne Coffey, yes. She said this is not just Rochdale. This is happening at she said it's happening all over the UK.
Children are under attack. And that's a serious statement, but they are. Children are under attack. When we spoke to the specialist of the Sunrise team last week, we was told 90% of online, of paedophilia is done online, grooming, so on. It's done online. Therefore, we need to get that. I mean, they're doing now. They're going into schools, telling kids, and helping kids and raising awareness. It's not enough. It needs to be on the TV. It needs to be in the news. It needs to be on the 6 o'clock news. We need to get the word out there that this is happening. A lot of people don't check what the kids are doing on the phone. We've had flagged to us 2 websites. One's called Amino. Amino, yeah, it's a child app what gives out games and such. In one of these, we looked at this app, we investigated it, and we found there was self-harm tutorial.
Billy, I've lost you. I can't hear you now. Oh, this is a good guy, guys, eh? He's a good bloke. But I think we might have lost him. I will try and get Billy back. Although, you know what? I think we pretty much covered this. I'm going to try and see if I can put in old Piers too. Billy?
Yeah.
Billy?
Hello?
Hey,
Hello.
Piers, hold on just a sec. Billy? Okay. Piers, you're there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Were you listening to any of that?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, Billy is not reachable now. I know he had a bit of a problem here. His computer froze earlier. We just got cut off again. Let me just put up his website for folks so that they can see this. Oh, Piers, man, I'll tell you what, this is just... right, so Parents Against Grooming UK, parents-against-grooming-uk.org. There you go. Parents Against Grooming UK.org. I know that they've got a GoFundMe page going on at the moment as well now. If you can spare a few quid for them. Yeah, Piers, man, I'll tell you what. This is just absolutely endemic. I played this clip from Maggie Oliver.
Yeah,
who said,
I heard it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is endemic, and it is being covered up. And as you said, I mean it's funny. We've made other friends aware, some in the political, or people who have worked in the political arena, in the past. We played them that Tim Fortescue interview to them, and they're like, well, you can't base an entire theory on just one old whip's testimony. But it is an extraordinary.
He was a whip. He was a whip.
He was a whip.
It's a slightly important qualification.
Well, it is, and I do think it's still going on, and it would be very interesting to find out, how many groomed perverts there are in Parliament. I'd say it's probably a lot higher than you might care to imagine.
You have an interesting theory about Theresa May, don't you? Just as a slight aside.
And this is just me thinking off the top of my head, but she was Home Secretary for 6 years. And she would have been party to a lot
6 years when a lot of this, the 6 years, the 6 years after Savile's death, and the time when all of this VIP pedo stuff was all coming up.
Yeah, she was the one. The CSA inquiry was all set up while she was Home Secretary, and literally they've been inundated with testimonies.
She set the inquiry up.
Yeah, it relates to VIPs,
and gave it 3 inquiry heads so far.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 3 heads that have come and gone because of their establishment connections, and the fact that they were clearly found to be it was a contradiction of interests, or whatever it is. It's extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. I think, my sort of slightly conspiratorial theory is that she got all this information and found out that it's been a long-standing use by MI5 and the Secret Service, or Mossad or whoever it might be. There's a combination of factors. They deliberately employ perverts, put them in positions of authority, give them the cushy life, as you say, and use people like Jimmy Savile or other child prostitute providers. Chauffeur drive these care home kids around in these ministry cars, drop them off at places like Dolphin Square, where they're then readily abused by these pervert politicians. They're driven back to their care homes, and of course the care home people working there, the majority are all kind of on the government payroll, and they're probably taking backhanders or are perverts themselves. So it's sort of they're all untouchable, and because this is been used as one of the most effective tools of political manipulation for the last few decades. Obviously, I mean, if people found out that poor innocent care home children, don't have mums and dads or anybody who really cares enough about them, they fall in the trap in this system, and they get literally used as a sort of child candy for these.
I'll tell you what, Piers. I'll tell you what, man. I'm just looking at the comments, and I apologise for not reading out some of the comments earlier in the show, folks, because you clearly have been having kittens over this subject. D. Darwell, for example. Oh, hold on. I'm getting Billy, who's calling me back in. So let's pull him back on. Billy, can you hear me now? Billy? Piers, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, look, we're gonna wrap this. I just wanna say some of these folks have made these comments, and I think it's only seeing as they've bothered. I will try to be a bit more organised with this, guys. But for example, we're getting a lot of folks saying, "Can we have another follow up?" Chris Ford, for example, maybe Ollie, we can do a follow up. This goes very, very deep. Well, I know that Chris and I have got 1 or 2 folks in common that we want to pull onto this show to have a chat. Alice Hunter, not a chance will this be allowed to get any more of a higher profile.
Well, you see, Theresa May knows all about it. She's basically used this information. She's kept it from the CSA, or she's preventing the CSA inquiry from using this information.
I'm just extending this show by a couple of minutes, folks, because I didn't go through these comments. So I'm extending this to a little bit longer than an hour.
Yeah.
Piers, carry on. Sorry.
It's just that to wrap up this Theresa May thing, I reckon she probably used the information she attained while as Home Secretary to position herself as the lead candidate for Prime Minister, which she then subsequently became. And now, as one of the most unpopular Prime Ministers this country has ever seen, behaving the way she did. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she's a sort of, a double agent, really, working for the sort of Bilderberg globalist lot.
Frankly, I'd be surprised if she wasn't, but it's a theory.
She was told by the Bilderberg lot to basically throw the general election, be as unpopular as you possibly can, lose your slim majority, and that'll throw the country into chaos. All
right, okay, Piers, we'll come back. We'll come back more to that theory, but I got to wrap up this show.
Okay,
I just wanted to
use what she's got on these pervert politicians as leverage in order to accomplish that. So if the globalists are behind this agenda, then she's using her power over these perverts, in positions of authority that have been placed there deliberately, who have blackmailed and provided kids.
Okay, you made the point, for God's sake.
Sure.
All right. Okay, thank you. Right. So we've, basically we've got some interest, and I do appreciate that, folks. I really, really do. I will try and be a little bit better at covering the comments. Most of them are from Chris Baxter, of course. God bless you, Chris. Yeah. Okay. All right. You know what? I think we're just going to call it a day. Piers, will you come on the show again?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Good. That'll be great. So it's always nice to catch up with you, man. You're quite good fun, and
Dude, I know I come out with the wild wacko stuff, but
you do.
I do think there's some merit to it all. I really do. As horrible and as despicable as it sounds, most people who have cognitive dissonance like this.
Oh, hold on. Why have I? Oh, yeah. Piers, sorry. Yeah. I wasn't trying to completely cut you off. Well, I was a bit.
Dude, yeah, okay.
Why can I hear this twice? I can hear this. Can you hear this twice, Piers? This music?
No. I'm gonna hang up.
Yeah, good. Go. Guys, that's it for today, yeah? It's the end of the show. I need to sort out some of the technical stuff and try and make sure my guests don't get cut off and stuff like that. But Leckie Howarth, thank you very, very so much from Parents Against Grooming. God bless you, man. I can hear this twice in my looping, this music. I don't know if you can. Okay, well, that's it, for this week, the Daily Brexit. Every Tuesday and Thursday. In fact, I'll see you Thursday. In fact, you know what? I've even got someone to say thanks for watching. Look at that. How cool. How professional we are. Thank you very, very much. We'll be better on the comments on Thursday, I promise you. And I have no idea how to close this stream, so I'm just going to stop the stream locally, and who knows, ciao. God bless you.